Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Concerned Citizens Media again. I have some news to share with you and several videos at the end of the reading, after the reading the news. Here are the news for January 10, 2021. The Tigray region, the Tigrayans in the diaspora communities and their supporters held rallies around the world on January 8, 2021, and called for an end to genocide in Tigray region. The protesters showed up in extensive numbers in Los Angeles, California, Denver, Colorado, Washington, D.C., Portland, Melbourne, Australia, in Canada, and in many other countries. Protesters in Melbourne, Australia, brought body bags and wrapped themselves and lied on the ground in line as if they were the actual victims of the genocide carried out by Ethiopian and Eritrean defense forces in Tigray. Protesters also called on the global communities to pay immediate attention to the ethnic cleansing and other humanitarian crisis happening in Tigray region under the pretext of law and order operations. They were also chanting slogans such as Eritrean defense forces out of Tigray, Ethiopian defense forces out of Tigray region, stop killing Tigrayans, Tigrayans need immediate emergency food assistance. America and others must impose sanctions on Ethiopia and Eritrea for their criminal conduct against our people, and many other different slogans. The Tigrayan in diaspora community deserve our credit for organizing and coordinating these huge protests against Abiy Ahmed and Isaias Afwerki, and for calling for urgent global attention for their people and their region. Credit for this one is ABC News, Coin.com, and others. Concerned Citizens Media reported on the jailing of Addis Ababa University lecturer Dr. Hussein Kader by Abiy Ahmed undercover operatives for no reasons before. After moving him from jail to jail and after psychologically and financially punished him and his family, they released him after imprisonment. Dr. Hussein Kadir deserves some explanation for his unlawful arrests and the compensation for those times he was kept in jail for no fault of his own or for no wrongdoing. But no one dares to demand such legal citizens' rights from Abiy Ahmed currently. Several thousands of Oromo professionals, farmers, merchants, students, opposition politicians, and others have been in jail without credible cases and proper trials. South Sudan called on Sudan to resolve its border dispute with Ethiopia with dialogue and diplomacy. South Sudan President Salva Kiir held a bilateral talk with Sudanese senior parliamentary official in his office and raised his concerns about the conflict happening between Ethiopia and Sudan over border disputes. The East Africa does not need any war, Salva Kiir said. The Oromo Federalist Congress Party released a statement on the upcoming election and on current situations in Ethiopia. Some of the main points included in this press release are: rushing to hold election without proper dialogues and reconciliation amongst all stakeholders will not bring peace, stability, and democratic transition in Ethiopia. The Ethiopian ruling party or Prosperity Party and the election board must first facilitate the preconditions for free and fair election in the country. 3. The past five national elections in that country were not fair and free and democratic, and expecting free and fair and democratic election from the upcoming one is naive and ignoring the realities exist in the country. 4. The Oromo Federalist Congress Party also demanded the ruling party must immediately release their party leaders, members, and supporters and allow them to conduct their political activities without fear of harassment, intimidation, and fear of being arrested. Open all their local, regional, and federal offices and allow them to function freely and without intimidation. Oromo Liberation Front also released a similar press release in the past. It also called the ruling party to release all Oromo Liberation Front officials, their members, and their supporters from Ethiopian prisons and open all local, regional, and federal offices that have been closed illegally by the party controlling everything in Ethiopia at this time. Concerned citizens media comment on this one, on this press release and others. Repeatedly releasing strong, inspiring, convincing, powerful, and diplomatic press releases will not take us anywhere. We cannot get our freedom by begging our masters. We must force them to allow us to be free, whether they like it or not. To do that, Oromo Federalist Congress Party leaders must walk the walk in addition to the talks they are conducting through their press releases. They must call on their members and their supporters to demonstrate peacefully in all towns and cities until their demands are fulfilled by ruling party. If Oromo Federalist Congress and other opposition politician party leaders expect changes in Ethiopia without their practical and concrete actions, they are fooling themselves. Dictators do not care much about your rosy and diplomatic press statements. You got to force them to make changes by using every possible means. So this is concerned citizens' comment on repeated press releases by OLF and Oromo Federalist Congress. So releasing a strong statement diplomatic statements will not help us to achieve our goal, will not help us. The demands, the demands Oromo Federalist Congress and the OLF asking from the government, like opening all offices, releasing all political prisoners, will not happen just by releasing press statement. Action is required, and one of the action is organizing persistent protests to put pressure on the government. 3 United Kingdom new COVID-19 strains are identified in New York City. This new strain spread faster than other strains. In the meantime, COVID-19 already killed 24,000 plus Americans and sickened more than 2 million in 2021. Just this year. It's about what, 10 days? Within 10 days, it killed almost 24,000 plus Americans and sickened more than 2 million within 10 days. Identifying this new strain complicates the life-threatening condition we are already in with COVID-19. Conservative radio host Rush Limbaugh's Twitter account has been deactivated. Twitter confirmed to USA Today that the account was not suspended but deactivated by the owner. Rush Limbaugh is considered the leading conservative talk radio host, the most controversial person, and he has been on the airwaves for more than 3 decades and claimed to have more than 50 million subscribers. Rush Limbaugh is repeatedly echoing President Donald Trump's unfounded claims about election process, election result, and other irregularities. He even engages in spreading false narratives, conspiracies, racist and bigoted messages on radio show under the pretext of freedom of expression and conservatism. His radio transmission has played a major part in motivating and inspiring the mobs that attacked the Capitol Hill on January 6, 2021. President Donald Trump awarded Rush Limbaugh with the highest civilian presidential medallion to encourage the development of divisive and hateful propaganda under the pretext of conservatism and freedom of speech. Concerned citizens media encouraged the government to re-examine Rush Limbaugh's radio show and other conservative media for their anti-immigrant, anti-minorities, anti-democratic views and propaganda on their platforms. The United States is lifting decades-old restriction between America and Taiwanese officials in a move that will fundamentally change Washington's relationship with the self-governed island and is expected to anger Beijing. China considers Taiwan as a part of its territory, and the US dealing with the democratically ruled island have long been a source of tension. In a statement, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo wrote that US diplomats should now consider all previous State Department contact guidelines regarding relations with Taiwan to be null and void. The U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, Kelly Craft, is set to visit Taiwan this week to reinforce the U.S. government's strong and ongoing support for Taiwan's international space, Pompeo announced last week. This U.S. new act toward Taiwan and other previous anti-China policies might lead to further confrontation and possibly unwanted war between China and the United States. Hopefully, the upcoming Biden's administration might diffuse this tension between these two powerful countries. Partial credit for CNN. So this is a very serious situation, and as concerned citizens reported before, they were denying visas for Chinese officials, claiming some kind of criminal conduct, and China also, removing U.S. consular in China. This tick for tack is an indication of trouble coming between these two countries. So possibly the next administration might play a different role for the peace of two countries. So that's the reading part. And I have several short videos to share with you about different topics. Let's see. The first one is about the tragedy in Indonesia, plane crash. So this is also a very short one. Let's listen to this one. Okay.
I'm Stanley Tucci. I'm traveling across Italy to discover how the food is as unique as the people and their past.
Yeah, it's advertisement, so let us finish. That's what try.
The anguish is too much for some. This man showing a photo of his daughter on his cell phone. He says he was there to pick her up and fears he may never see her again. Officials say they lost contact with the Boeing 737-500 shortly after takeoff. It was last reported at an altitude of 11,000 feet. It was attempting to climb to 13,000 feet. The global flight tracking service Flight Radar 24 says the plane dropped 10,000 feet in less than a minute before disappearing from radar. Wreckage, clothing, and human remains have been pulled from the crash site in an area known as the Thousand Islands, an area 20 miles northwest of Jakarta. The Indonesian Navy found the wreckage after locating a signal from the fuselage. The Indonesian president urged people to pray for the victims.
We will do our best to find and save the victims, and together, let's pray that they can be found.
62 people were on board, 12 crew members and 50 passengers, including 7 children. A family of 5, including a 7-month-old baby boy, are missing and feared dead. Another family of 5 filmed this farewell video at the airport before boarding the doomed flight. And this pre-flight selfie, a mother 4 months pregnant sitting with her daughter and nephew. This married couple is also missing and feared dead. After giving his DNA sample to help with identification, her brother spoke to CNN.
There were only 3 of us.
Our father has passed away. Our mother has passed away. Now their children are orphans whom I have to take care of.
The airline CEO says the 26-year-old plane was in good condition, but the flight was delayed for 30 minutes because of heavy rain, a factor, along with many others, Indonesian authorities will have to investigate. Christy Lustout, CNN.
And Boeing initially said that it was working to gather more information. Later did issue a statement saying this: our thoughts are with the crew, passengers, and their families. We are in contact with our airline customers and stand ready to support them during this difficult time.
Okay, that's the tragedy of the Indonesian airlines, thanks to the CNN reporting. It is unfortunate. About it will be a real tragedy. About 62 people sit on board. No one is survived so far. Okay, let's see the next one. Okay, this one is United Nations commenting on the attack happened on January 6th in the United States. Let's see.
We are deeply troubled by Wednesday's attack on the U.S. Capitol, which demonstrated clearly the destructive impact of sustained, deliberate distortion of facts and incitement to violence and hatred by political leaders. Allegations of electoral fraud have been invoked to try to undermine the right to political participation. We are encouraged to see that this process has continued in spite of serious attempts to disrupt it. We call on leaders from across the political spectrum, including the President of the United States, to disavow false and dangerous narratives and to encourage their supporters to do so as well. We note with dismay the serious threats and destruction of property faced by media professionals yesterday, and we support calls from many quarters for a thorough investigation into Wednesday's events. We are concerned that some of the protesters were clearly displaying symbols of racial and ethnic hatred and white supremacy, including the Confederate flag, clothes displaying anti-Semitic logos, and a noose erected from across the Capitol. We condemn this display of overtly racist symbols, and we call on all the political leaders to also condemn the use of such overtly racist symbols.
As further information continues.
Okay, that's the UN United Nations statement on the attack on the Capitol Hill. It was really a very dangerous movement. It didn't happen spontaneously. It was boiled through many months of Trump claims, false claims, conspiracies, energized this group through different means, refusing to condemn them. Finally, it caused the damage you might already see, breaking the Capitol Hill windows, doors, and causing the deaths of 5 people, injuring many. So it was a very serious attempt by Trump supporters and by Trump, including some Republicans elected by people, supporting this group. That's a very bad move. It should be condemned. so that it will not happen again. That's a very serious one. Let's continue to the next one. This one is UN briefing on the Tigray war. Let's see.
50,000 people already there, including refugees. These figures are likely to change in the coming period as for rural areas around Mekelle, Shiraro, and Shire. That's all of Ethiopia. To some of the questions I think were raised by Edie yesterday. Just to tell you that we, along with our partners, have been able to access areas that have been previously inaccessible. Localized fighting and insecurity continues, with fighting reported in rural areas around Mekelle, Shiraro, and Shire. That's all, of course, in Tigray province. Access to most parts of northwestern and eastern and central Tigray remains constrained due to the ongoing insecurity and bureaucratic hurdles. 2 of the 4 refugee camps in the region, Hitsats and Shimelba, are still not accessible. Our colleagues at OCHA, as well as the World Food Program, which, as you may know, leads the logistics efforts in this coordinated approach, continue to work with the authorities to streamline the cargo clearance mechanism and ensure safe and secure access to Tigray and bordering areas. We estimate that 2.3 million people are in urgent needs of humanitarian assistance in Tigray, including 1.3 million additional people due to conflict and over 950,000 people already there, including refugees. These figures are likely to change in the coming period as further information continues to become available. And the UN mission in Central African Republic tells us that...
Okay, that's United Nations briefing on the situation in Tigray region. As you heard that despite Prime Minister and his military officials claim the war is over long time ago, it's not over. The war is not over. Despite capturing our senior TPLF members and the military officials, despite killing some of the senior officials, the war is still going on around Shire and other towns with the close proximity of Mekelle, the capital city. So it is confirmed that the war is not over. The war is still going on and the people are still suffering. In a lot of thousands of refugees, we say about what, 900,000, say, plus 2.3 million people need urgent food assistance, and more than 60,000 already crossed to Sudan. So the war that could be avoidable through diplomacy, dialogue, reconciliation is creating a mess now. It's creating a mess, big problem. And it is not like Abiy Ahmed and his supporters calculated within a week or 2 weeks everything will be settled down. Prosperity Party will be established in Tigray region and the election will be held. Then they will lead for the country for the next, who knows, 10, 30 years. That is their calculation. Through force, through military force and police and other forces, by using all available resources, because they control everything. That is their dream, but the situation is going against them. That's why we listen from UNA briefing, other medias, Telegraph, New York Times, others are reporting the war is still going on. And plus the border war between Sudan and Ethiopia is still going on, it's not settled. And Ethiopia is silent on that one for now because they don't want to lose the domestic war. It's better to lose the border instead of losing the domestic war, because that is dangerous for their politics. Okay, let's go to the next one. Is this also a very short one? Very short one. Okay, let's see. This is the Tigray diaspora community demonstrating.
Need to stand with humanity, because this is humanity. You gotta stand with humanity, because I know everybody gonna hear about it after it happens, and they gonna act like they were mad, sad. No, doesn't work like that. Stop it right now, before it happens. It's happening. Stop it before it's too late.
Ethiopian forces have been at war with the regional government of Tigray since early November.
International aid agencies are sounding the alarm over the situation in the northern Ethiopian region of Tigray.
The Red Cross says the capital of Ethiopia's northern Tigray region is struggling with shortages of food and medical supplies.
Right now we're going to a protest in LA regarding the war that's taking place in Ethiopia, in the Tigray region. This is a really personal story I'm doing because I have family in the Tigray region. I have aunties, uncles, cousins. So it's difficult to cover this and not be biased. And I apologize for that ahead of time. It was this past summer that we were out here on Sunset Boulevard in LA for the Black Lives Matter movement. And now we're back again. Just doesn't feel like there's ever an end to things to protest about in this world.
Tigray is a state in northern Ethiopia. The state is led by TPLF, a political party that was in charge of Ethiopia for 27 years before the newest leader of Ethiopia, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, took over in 2018. For the last almost 3 years, tensions between the TPLF and the federal government have been growing, and it led to an all-out war on November 3rd. The causes of the war vary depending on who you believe, but what's not up for debate is that civilians are getting caught in between. Over 60,000 people have fled the Tigray region to neighboring Sudan, and now reports show that over 2 million are internally displaced. According to the UN, 2.4 million people in the state of Tigray are in need of immediate food assistance. The problem is, most of the region is closed off by the federal government. Outside of Mekelle, which is the capital city of Tigray, there is no phone service, no internet service, no electricity to the rest of Tigray. To make things worse, the federal government of Ethiopia has been accused of partnering up with Eritrea, a country to the north, to attack the Tigray state. Both Eritrea and Ethiopia had initially denied the involvement of Eritrean troops, but over the last week, Ethiopian government officials have confirmed that Eritrean troops are in Tigray. Reports of Eritrean troops massacring civilians and committing mass organized looting of schools, hospitals, and factories is abundant.
There's no food in Tigray. You can't eat. There's no humanitarian services in Tigray because the Ethiopian government stopped everybody from coming in. So the UN can't go in, the US can't go in, nobody can go in. So what we want now, we want the US to put sanctions on the Ethiopian government. We want the US to put force, whatever it is. They need to force the Ethiopian government and the Eritrean government, who's also involved. And they need to stop this war. It's a genocide happening. Our people are dying. Thousands of people are dying. They're burning our churches. They're burning our mosques. They're raping our women. While we're over here in a free country, being able to do whatever we want, they can't do that. They have no food. They have no water. They have no medicine. So what we want is an end to this war. The U.S. needs to be involved. Everybody today that heard about this need to raise their voice, need to stand with humanity, because this is humanity. You gotta stand with humanity.
The whole world must know there is a genocide going on. The whole world must see children are being killed. Women are being killed. It's a total genocide going on.
Are you from the Tigray region?
I'm from Eritrea and Tigray.
Okay. Do you have family there?
I have family on both sides.
እርስዎ ከትግራይ ኖት? አዎ ከሁለቱም ጋር።
ትግራይ ስላልኩት ቤተሰቦቼ አጠቃላይ ትግራይ ውስጥ ነው ያሉት።
ማግኘት ችለዋል ቤተሰቡን?
አላገኘም። ስልክ አይሰራም። ሚክስን ነው። ይሄ አማራ ነው፣ ይሄ ትግሬ ነው ማለት አትችይም።
አዎ እውነት ነው።
የተወለደ ህዝብ ነው በቃ። እና እንኳን ከትግራይና ከጎንደር አጠቃላይ ሀበሻ የተባለው የተወለደ ህዝብ ነው። ፍቅር ከልካይ የለውም። ፍቅር ከልካይ የለውም። የተወለደ ህዝብ ነው ማለት ነው። አሁን እነዚህ እያዳሙት ነው በቃ እያዳሙት ነው።
We're just getting back from the protest, and one of the things that really touched me is one of the gentlemen said he's, half Tigrayan and half Amhara, which is another tribe in Ethiopia. And he said, how do you separate these people? And that's the truth for myself and millions of others, If we're going to have tribal conflict, I don't know where the resolution is going to be, where it's going to be resolved. Because I myself, I'm Tigrayan, I have Tigrayan roots, but I also have, Amhara grandparents and Eritrean grandparents. So this is the same people waging war on each other. And this is a conflict, a battle for power. But who's getting devastated in between is the civilians, and that's who we were all attempting to save.
Okay, that's about the protest and the reality about Ethiopians. As the protester and the journalist reported, there is a chance of having a mixed ethnics. There is no pure ethnicity in that country. Yes, we are mixed. Mara, Oromo, Tigray, Eritreans, but power and greediness create the animosity among all these ethnicities. The greediness to control power. So that's why it happened. And concerning citizens media before the war, it was encouraging Ethiopians to have dialogue, reconciliation, because we all know this is coming, because the federal government was taking step by step, slowly, before the war was declared. And before that we warned this thing should be ended with diplomacy and reconciliation. So nobody listened. The things went in a different way. Now the country is at war with its own people in many fronts, in Oromo, Benishangul, Tigray, and I don't know where is peace now. Probably the capital city, maybe. Okay, that's the protest video. Let's listen to a very short one about North Korea.
During these tough times, professional truck drivers keep the country supplied with the essential goods that it needs to weather this storm.
North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's extensive report in the opening days of this ruling party Congress has
has mostly concentrated on his country's claimed achievements in the 5 years since the last Congress. But he referred again to the economic failings he admitted at the beginning of this gathering, the result of isolation from international sanctions and the global pandemic.
They could not say otherwise, because the situation is bad and deteriorating very fast. And every single person in the country can easily see it every day. So denying it would be probably meaningless.
As a counter to such negative news, Kim was able to highlight big advances in his nuclear arsenal. He referred to new missile development, such as in submarine-launched weapon technology, and a new longer-range intercontinental ballistic missile capable of delivering multiple warheads with greater accuracy. Kim Jong-un also spoke about the need for the testing of new weapons, opening up the possibility of more provocative, longer-range missile launches that North Korea has suspended during the past few years of unprecedented summit diplomacy with South Korea and the United States. It's a far cry from the vague commitments to denuclearization made in the Singapore summit with US President Donald Trump just 2.5 years ago. And as he prepares for his successor, Joe Biden, to take over, Kim once again identified the United States as his country's biggest main enemy. Rob McBride, Al Jazeera, Seoul.
In the time that I've been here,
Okay, that's the challenge we might be facing from North Korea, with all its capacity, including ballistic missiles, could be reaching far, like the United States and others. Trump tried 2.5 years ago, never been successful to stop North Korea from testing nuclear arsenal and others. Now they just advancing their weapons, so we will see how the new coming Biden administration will address the North Korean challenge in a peaceful manner. They have the nuclear power, the nuclear bomb, they have ballistic missiles. They are beyond control. You put as many sanctions you want, but they don't want to give up their nuclear power. So how are you going to deal with them? That's a challenge from North Korea. Too many challenges in this world. And the last one for today is could be a little bit funny for the closing, and a little bit reality. This is a daily show, Travis. I don't know. This is a South African boy, originally. Let's listen what he's saying.
Following the presidential race, and I've noticed that a few pieces of conventional wisdom have formed around the candidates. None more than with Donald Trump.
6 in 10 Americans believe Trump is unqualified to serve as president.
He's not qualified to be president.
Unfit to be president.
Unfit to be commander-in-chief.
The Des Moines Register writing that Trump is, quote, not only unfit to hold office, but unfit to stand on the same stage as his Republican opponents.
He's unfit for that stage? No. That stage is unfit for Trump. There's no marble, there's no gold. Where are the women in bikinis? And how would he even get there? There's no escalator. Come on, people. So the complaint about Trump is that he's unpresidential. And it stems from certain statements that he's made.
When Mexico sends its people, they're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists, and some, I assume, are good people.
And you know what they say? When you assume, you're the best at assuming. Trump. I know these comments about immigrants were upsetting to some people. But for me, as an African, there's just something familiar about Trump that that makes me feel at home.
The influx of illegal migrants, crime, unfair business practices, drugs. It is also not true that all foreign nationals are involved in criminal activities. There are some who are, but not all of them.
I love how we all waited like, oh, he's not so... That's South African President Jacob Zuma sounding a lot like Donald Trump. You see, that's a light xenophobia with just a dash of diplomacy, which is also the title of Paula Dean's new book. So I don't see what's unpresidential about Donald Trump. I mean, here's another thing he unnecessarily took heat for.
Autism has become an epidemic. The beautiful child went to have the vaccine and came back, and a week later got a tremendous fever, got very, very sick, now is autistic.
Now, was that factual? No. But was it presidential? Depends where you come from.
Gambian President Yahya Jammeh says he can cure AIDS using herbs and bananas. He admits there will always be skeptics, but he says, quote, mine is not an argument, mine is a proof. It's a declaration. I can cure AIDS, and I will.
That's right. That is right. The president of Gambia says he can cure AIDS with bananas. And I can also cure cancer using AIDS. If only I hadn't cured all that AIDS. A crazy thing to... Better safe than sorry. What I'm trying to say is Donald Trump is presidential. He just happens to be running on the wrong continent. In fact, once you realize that Trump is basically the perfect African president, you start to notice the similarities everywhere, like the level of self-regard.
I say not in a braggadocious way. I've made billions and billions of dollars. I made a tremendous amount of money. I'm really rich. I have a great temperament. They love me anyway. I don't have to do this. I've done an amazing job. I was born with a certain intellect. God helped me by giving me a certain brain.
I bet that's the one time that God's like, I don't need the praise. It's cool. That's you. That's you. I'm cool. Now, is that extraordinary level of bragging presidential? Well, let's ask a man who actually was president. Idi Amin, former president and best president of Uganda.
The people like me very much. I am very popular. I am very powerful. I am the one who has got the money. I have got a very good brain.
As the butcher of Uganda, I talked about it last time.
Brain. And I know this because every time I ask people if I have a good brain, they say, of course, Mr. President. Now, please let my family go. You've already killed my sister. I think you've proved your point. And just to make sure everyone knew exactly how successful he was, Idi Amin insisted on always being referred to by his full title. And this is completely true. His Excellency President for Life, Field Marshal Al-Haji, Dr. Idi Amin Dada, VC DSO, MC, Lord of all the beasts of the earth, and fishes of the seas and conqueror of the British Empire in Africa in general, and Uganda in particular. Luckily, Idi Amin didn't own any casinos. Yeah, in fact, Trump is so African presidential, he's already at the level of Zimbabwe's president, Robert Mugabe, whose brutality and repressive tactics have kept him in power for 35 years.
My people have great praise for me. People love me. Everybody loves me. The little man. He's very low energy.
Land is ours. It's not European. It's our land. And we have taken it.
We'll take our country back.
We will win. We will be winning all the time.
We will have so much winning if I get elected that you may get bored with winning.
I feel like I'm winning right now. It's really great to know that if anything ever happens to Trump, we have a backup coffee in Africa. I like that. Actually, now that I think about it, Trump reminds me of one African leader in particular. Weird hair? Check. Lavish lifestyle? Check. Fringe, discredited views about President Obama's origins?
And along came a black citizen of Kenyan African origin, a Muslim. His name is Obama.
Check. Oh, and there's one more thing.
Gaddafi put up a tent in the town of Bedford, about 40 miles outside of New York City. The property in Westchester County, where they're setting up that tent, is owned by none other than Donald Trump.
Yeah, that's right. When Muammar Gaddafi came to America, he could have stayed anywhere. But the only place he felt truly at home was in Donald Trump's yard. Now, just by the way, our lawyers told us we have to mention that Trump told Gaddafi to take the tent down. And you see, you have to be careful what you say about Donald Trump in public. Not unlike an African president. Now, I understand that Trump is a little scary. A little exotic for some. A little out of America's comfort zone. But this great country is capable of bold leaps. It took one in 2008 when it elected its first black president. Now in 2016, I say it's time to be bold once more and elect America's first African president. And when that happens, when a true African finally enters the Oval Office, the people of Africa will erupt into songs of praise. Mexican rapists. We don't have a word for Mexican rapists.
Okay, that's the Daily Show. It's a little bit fun and there's a lot of reality, comparing Donald Trump with all the attitudes, the claims of other African leaders, Idi Amin, Robert Mugabe, Gaddafi, and yes, dictators share some kind of attitude, common attitudes, bragging about themselves, about their mental capacity, how much money they have, the winning, they keep winning because people, they like them. No, they use all the means to crush their oppositions, especially in Africa. Trump tried here to do that, but America is the land of law. You can't do it in America. You can do it in Africa, but you cannot do it in the United States of America. America is the law of the land. Is a symbol of freedom, justice. So you can't just go crash the Capitol Hill and take power. No. If you have legitimate reason, you can go to the court, fight it. If you win, you win with credible evidence. Trump lost 60 times. He doesn't have any credible evidence. All lies, conspiracies, build up until they reach the Capitol Hill. They tried to take power like in Africa. No. Shame on them, and it will not happen in America. Yes, it happened in Africa. One leader stays for 36 years, lifetime. They don't want to give it up. They build their power, their walls, and control the military, control the police, control the security forces, undercovers, the media, the financial institutes. They make every person a yes man. In that way, they can manipulate the votes, win the election after election after election, and they can stay for 30 years. You can't challenge them. Where are you going to challenge them? The court belongs to them. And the one counting the votes belongs to them. The one carrying the votes belongs to them. So it is a sad reality happening in Africa, and it will happen again if it's not pressured by their own citizens, plus by the freedom-loving global communities with proper oversight, pressure, sanctions. Africa will be changed. If not, we don't expect any change in Africa. So a lot is covered tonight. Thank you for taking the time with me. I appreciate your comment, and subscribe to my YouTube, so we will share news every, every 3 days, maybe, depending on the news. And that is enough for today. You can leave your comment, share with your friends, so we can develop concerned citizens to a higher level. Share it with family members, friends. Comment on it. Send me factual based news through my email, birke663@gmail.com. That will be appreciated. Thank you, and I will be back with other news and comments. Until that time, so long everyone.